Hello, welcome to the Simplified Organization Show, where real moms chat about realistic home and life management. We want to avoid perfectionism, reject overwhelm, and handle housework, schedules, and all the details in a way that builds relationships, because that's the good work that God has called us to. I'm your host, Misty Winkler. I write and podcast at simplyconvivial.com about homemaking, homeschooling, and doing life cheerfully. I'm also the author of The Convivial Homeschool, Gospel Encouragement for Keeping Your Sanity While Living and Learning Alongside Your Kids. Today we have part 2 of my conversation with Sarah Beals from joyfilleddays.com. Sarah is mom of 6 and grandmother of 4. She lives in beautiful New England and is in her 27th year of homeschooling. She's passionate about books, decorating, hospitality, strong coffee, and BBC drama. She blogs at joyfilleddays.com, where she talks about all aspects of Christian living. Today, she shares about how to change your attitude when you realize that you are responding sinfully, and how to figure out why you are suffering from overwhelm and what to do about it. Let's dig in. So, do you have any tips or suggestions for handling the emotions, or just kind of turning our mind and our thoughts toward truth in that moment instead of kind of giving in to those emotions?
I do. And I can honestly say that I have not done this properly over the years. I definitely, as a younger person, struggled with anger a lot. I struggled with control and anger. And so that comes out every time something doesn't go quite right. There was a little book that really helped me by Rand Hummel. It was called Turn Away Wrath. And it was basically like an accounting of every time you let your anger get the best of you, so that you would have the audacity to leash out at someone else and harm them, and harm that relationship. So that was really a turning point for me, just being willing to say, like, no, this is not just mom's having a bad day, or mom got up a little bit on the wrong side of the bed, or we like to say mom woke up extra sinful. It's not. We can't just give ourselves a soft landing every time we do that. If we want our kids to see this as a serious thing, I was wrong. I have no right to say that when I'm angry or upset that your toys are everywhere. Your toys shouldn't be there, but also I shouldn't be acting this way. And I'm sorry. I don't know any other way except for humbling yourself and repenting to your kids, because you don't really want to do that too often. Or to your husband.
You learn faster if you have to admit it out loud to someone.
Yeah, right. It does. And it's humbling. But I think as you mature too in age and you do that, the tendency is less. You do gain victory over that. Not always. Like, the temptation is always there, but you're not as prone to give into that. So that's encouraging. And, even when you're my age and you have other hormonal things going on at 50, you have the wisdom to say, okay, I feel this way now, but this is not truth. This is not my truth right now. My truth is, my house may be a mess, or the kids may be being really selfish and it's making me crazy, but it doesn't mean that our whole life is a disaster right now. It means that, my laundry's out of place, or, but I'm still a child of God. He loves me. He cares for me. And my closets are messy. Okay. Something like that.
Perspective.
I think there's it's easier to see that as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important as parents to ask our children's forgiveness when we sin against them, instead of trying to pretend that we don't sin against them, because I think kids have that extra special radar we all have a better radar for other people's sins than our own.
Yes. And they know. It's not like they don't know that you just did something wrong and you're not fooling them.
Right. And so you're doing the right thing when you ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And you're also showing them how to do the right thing, what the right thing is, and that it really does. When you can be on both sides of that exchange, you really learn a lot more deeply about it.
Yeah. No one's above God's law in the house. Mm-hmm. It's not just mom saying, you did this wrong. You did this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If they live like you live, basically, that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it's something we don't grow past or, get to the point where we no longer sin against anyone and we'll never have to apologize again.
yeah, I know. And as the temptations just change as they get older, then there's discussions about who needs to use the car and who needs it more and who, so there's always the underlying selfishness that's trying to reign. And I can get frustrated because it's my car. And I could say, no, it's my car. I'm using it, but you're just trying to live with grace with everyone, and say, this is how we do it. I don't know. And we don't do it perfectly. I'm not trying to make it sound like we do.
Well, no one does. So that's
No,
kind of that
no.
false expectation that we look at other people, on Facebook or Instagram pictures and just think that we are missing something.
Yeah.
And it's just walking humbly with our God.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're sinners like their mother. I don't know.
So, would you have, I know is always so helpful to hear from older moms who have gone through those years, because we all need perspective. Yeah. And it's hard to find sometimes those role models or hearing the wisdom spoken into our lives as we're entering every next phase. Do you have any other you would like to pass on to younger moms?
Well, I'll tell you what I would think I would say to my daughters. They both have two little children. Each daughter has two children under 3. And I can see when I deal with them, sometimes, dealing with toddlers all day is exhausting. And, it's exhausting. And I would just say that it's a season. And, it goes by, and it goes by quickly. And I used to kind of like cringe when people would say that to me, because I'd be like, yeah, I know. It's like so cliche, but it is true. And I would just say, if you're trying to stay not underwhelmed, but not overwhelmed, just realize that God put you as the mother of this child. And he doesn't necessarily call you to volunteer for, the sports team or the church which are all good things. I mean, we've been volunteers and then full time at our church for 30 years with the teen ministry. And it takes on a life of its own, and it can. But at the end of the day, in the middle of the night, there's one mother and there's only one father that can take care of things, and that has to be our goal. So if we're overwhelmed, I think just writing down our daily schedules. If you're visual like I am, I'm a very visual learner. Writing it down every single day. I have to do this, this, and this. And there's lead time that's needed for those things. And that means that I can't run every day at 3 to 5, between 3 to 5, if I plan to have family dinner every night as part of our family culture,
Right.
So I think for me, writing everything down, because I think you can kind of just get into this time warp as a young mom, and it seems like you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I always tell my daughters that it's like being a mother is like assembly line. It's never done. It's the next thing comes and you're like, what? I just did this, and it's think of it like an assembly line. It's not going to be done until they're out the door, so don't be surprised by it, and when you see that, you realize I don't have as much time as I really think I do to do all of the things that, especially if you have a big family, that other people might be doing. We did do lessons and we did do sports, but it wasn't all at one time. We had go days and stay days. I mean, I just had to know, I had five kids at the time, and now we have 6. I just had a limit that I had to work with, my own personality, my husband's schedule. Every situation is different. Every puzzle is different. And if you feel overwhelmed, just to write it all down, everything that's really important, family dinners, family devotion, bath time, bedtime, morning time, and maybe you'll have an hour or 2 in the day, maybe to run. I don't know. I always have to get my groceries, ordered or whatever. But I would just say to really write it down and analyze it, because we all think we have more time than we do when we don't see it on the calendar,
Yeah, that's That's very true.
It's a sanity saver. It really is. I mean, I think we all learned during the pandemic that we don't need to run like to the store every single day to Walmart, because it's around the corner. Once a week is fine, It's kind of nice, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's easy to discount the chores and the laundry, the things that we repeat daily and just not even count them. But they take a significant amount of time. And
yeah,
I know that
yeah,
feeling of just feeling surprised, like, wait a sec, I just did that.
I know. And it's not ever done. Like you have it in the mindset that you're going to be done with this. Like my laundry's going to be done, but the laundry's never done and the dishes are never done. It's like you get them done, but then they're there 5 hours later, so thinking like if you were on an assembly line and you were like, oh, I'm surprised there's another car in front of me that I have to put another bolt on right now. Like that would be crazy, right? But that's kind of how parenting is. It's like, it just keeps coming and coming. And, especially with the homeschool lifestyle, you really do need to slow down because it is a really big full-time job if you want to do a good job with it. And it is. And you don't really even realize it when you're going through it. But then when you're step back, you're like, wow, how on earth did I do that?
Yeah,
it's true.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for chatting with us today. And
yes, thank you for having me.
You want to tell people where they can?
Well, when I blog at joyfuldays.com, and I'm kind of more in a season of micro writing at Instagram. Yes. I also write for Club 31 Women sometimes, my friend Lisa. And yeah, when I get to it, I blog.
Yep. Well, I'll put some links in the description below also. So
okay, great.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, it's been good talking to you.
You as well.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Simplified Organization Show. The tip that Sarah was talking about at the end there, we call a time budget inside Simply Convivial Continuing Education. And I have a free resource that will help you figure out your own time budget and how a time budget is different from a schedule. It really is a helpful way to wrap your head around the responsibilities that you have and helps you be sure that you are being realistic in your expectations for your family and your time. To get this resource, go to simplyconvivial.com/time budget. All one word, simplyconvivial.com/time budget. And with our time, we can repent, rejoice, repeat.